Hello to everyone. And here we are again in our studio with Pharma Talks. And here is me, Nataliya Andreychuk, your usual host of the Pharma Talks. And the guest, we have a surprise for you. We're sitting together actually in the very same studio. And here is with us today Prasant Vijayakumar, who is the head of strategy in Relevance. But there is more. Prasant is really an expert in content strategy with the years of experience working in pharma, with pharma, for agencies, for pharma. So we can start with the exciting topic of today. Does content supply chain really matters if we're talking about the engagement?
Actually, when you said, my experience in content strategy, I was looking back and thinking, in some ways, yeah. I mean, the number of different therapeutic areas I've worked in, the number of products, it's in the last 15, 20 years, it's mind-boggling. But the fun fact is, in every product, it's in the way the content has been developed is exactly been the same. You build your strategy around the content, understanding around the product, in the sense understanding of the needs of the patient, unmet needs, understanding the unmet needs of the healthcare professional, and then building your strategy based on that. How do you communicate the main properties of your product that can fulfill the needs of those patients and the healthcare professionals who are prescribing them? And that hasn't changed even today. So that continues to be there, that building of that strategy, the value proposition you create for the content continues to remain the same, the approach to it. So as we look at the content development process itself, a lot of the discussion around, okay, today we have this AI coming in, there is a lot of content that can be created, built, but at the same time, the blockers still remain. The MLR is still considered as a major blocker, but if you, in reality, that shouldn't be the case. If you look at, if you speak to MLR folks, they said it's not the issue that we cannot approve things faster. The problem is that the content that is in front of them has always some issues, whether it is quality issues, simple spell checks, or things not referenced correctly, and at the same time the other issues, and in terms of the compliance, the statements, the claims that are being made in the content, are we able to substantiate with the references that are attached to it? That takes time. That is how much ever the AI is able to detect and provide, and to some extent it is doing that to be able, we are able to use AI to understand, detect, and learn from previous content that has been approved similarly. But at the end of the thing, we need someone to really look at it from a contextual point of view.
That's very interesting because we are having these conversations today that these and these issues AI will fix. And the content area is very much, I think, possessed with these ideas that AI will solve this and that case. And I think it will with the time. So we will have more and more advances in this territory, right? However, today, so I think we are now need to unopen this box where the content supply chain with all these middle stations, like MLR is a huge station in that, is having its toll over the engagement process because we got the delays. We sometimes even losing consistency and relevancy of the message. And sometimes we are really far away of meeting the expectations of our patients towards the information online, and there even was a lot of misinformation online. So when we are focusing on the content supply chain, a part of this MLR where we can really work. So what is happening inside? How does it look right now in this AI era? So what is your experience in this? Is this look and feel of the content supply chain already changed, or it is changing?
I mean, it's changing. I think it's not that everyone's working on different AI solutions across the supply chain. If you look at it from generation of, let's say, as simple as brief generation for your content, so you want to create new content, I, as a brand manager, I want my agency to create the right kind of content for my product, which means I need to create a proper brief for them, first of all, so that they understand what's my strategy. But I don't have time. So many. So it is there to enable some of those processes which will help the brand manager to write the brief. And so then that written document, all I have to do as a brand manager is read and make sure that it's accurate. So going from there to then going into, let's say, the person who's going to actually create the content, whether there are two ways. One is you want to create net new content. I want a medically qualified content writer to understand the studies, the result of the study, and create new content. Here again, AI can summarize some of those long study data, but someone still needs to understand the context, create context based on, again, your customers' needs and patient needs. All of that still has to remain top of everything else. And then the second is, you don't want to spend a lot of money with your agency perhaps, but you want to reuse and repurpose existing content. I want to be able to personalize my content to a specific audience, which means I already have the content, I just need to make it personalized, which is where we promote the idea of modular content. And we get asked, is modular still relevant today? It is even more relevant.
It's always the question.
Yeah, it is still so much relevant. The idea is that every product, you will be communicating a similar set of core values of the product, whether it's about the efficacy, the safety, or how easy to dose or anything. Those key messages or the content can be modularized, and you keep it in your library.
Yes, reused, repurposed. And I even have received a request to create a course for the modular content. So like this, I think with the modular content, where we're missing the point is the education, what it could be done. So because we all know the struggle, but are we educated about the benefits? So that's where there's the missing angle of the modular content, is the education of the benefits it can bring, even in AI era. One important thing I want just to mention here, so everyone is doing AI today, so every content offering solution is just craving to have AI on the top. It doesn't matter if it is like a generating of the content or manipulating with the databases or whatever. So they are craving for the AI generated content. So, but there is a difference still and a challenge which we are experiencing. We have the customers, like we are as V7, have the customers, and we have the very same LLM. Yeah, we are using RAG architectures, everyone, to extract, to, box, to make sure it is secured, it is really isolated from the others, it's safe. Then we have this processing for the algorithms, and there's a lot of limitations there. We stop. So we can, on our side, we can do everything. Then there is a customer with the knowledge base. And on the customer side, we are experiencing the different results of how the same similar AI model is working depending on how the knowledge base is prepared. So this is what you just started, right?
Absolutely. So it's all about data and structured data. I mean, AI has to learn from somewhere. We can bring the solution, and unless on our customer side, their data is structured in the right way. Especially in content. Modular content is structured data.
It's structured data. That's exactly. That's the point which we need to highlight. Guys, modular content is your structured data.
It is. And of course, there are use cases where AI is able to create new content, which is, again, it's not going to solve the MLR issue. It's not that the content velocity is going to suddenly increase just because you are able to create content. It will still need to be reviewed by someone because it's new and more riskier. Whereas modular structured data is less risky, but it is the most valuable content that you can reuse and repurpose.
Traceable.
Absolutely. Because you have kept it in a safe location, your digital asset management solution, where it is properly tagged and you know where it is coming from. And AI is assembling content using the structured data. The AI itself is able to point out to where got it from, first of all. There is a different use case, which is about AI being able to, okay, let's imagine there is no modular content library and I still want to reuse and repurpose. There is this whole deconstruction of existing content, or what we call as decomposing.
Decomposition,
Yeah.
engine, decomposing,
Yeah, we
just
call
breaking
it.
to the pieces.
Basically, the argument is my LLM solution, AI, is able to read the content, understand the context of it, and then bring together the same elements of it and create a new piece of content. Again, it's possible, but it still it is still riskier more riskier than your modular structured content, which has been approved.
Yeah, actually, this is a great point. Like, please do not switch off. This is not all about the modular content. This is about the content velocity and its impact on the engagement. So, because while we are hunting the engagement results of being heard, being visible, being not heard, we are really need to think about this first stage of engagement, which is this content supply chain. And there is a big thing about that. With all this personalization, more channels, like more availability for the digital opinion leaders, so more thinking online. So we have even more content to supply, so that this is even the bigger question. The bigger question: do we have the right infrastructure for this content supply chain? So is it flexible enough? Is it some kind of the monolithic, non-flexible, and each time we changing the suppliers, so we changing the software, we need to change everything and rethink about every template we ever created. So this is not to happen with us. Look at the web. Like headless CMSs, they have been about modularization all the way along.
Yes.
Is anyone challenging them that it is needed? So look at our iDetail aid, all the white paper, all the landing page, even the video. So it's still a complex piece of the information.
This is the thing. The way we we talk about AI being able to create the content, but in the end, those pieces of content needs to be in a certain format to be able to be published into the endless integration options that we have today.
Endless integration
and the
options.
formats,
Yes,
and how many such use cases are we going to invest in using? So that's where our role is, to bring that kind of seamless integration, being the engine, being able to create an engine which can help our customers to publish anywhere by creating just a single piece of content, and whether it's modular or anything. Tomorrow, in the future for us, would be that today we think about text and images and claims and things like that. Tomorrow's generation of doctors will be talking in video format. What do you do then? We need to think ahead. So video content, how do you modularize video content? That will be a challenge for us as vendors to bring that, and we will do that.
Yeah, so that means, like, even today, when we imagine this content supply chain, we need to be very careful about thinking very logistically wise, so that we have every step in the process, that we have it defined, that we do understand where is these meaningful pieces of the content we are storing, how they are connected together. Because even for AI to be able to create it as any other format, as a video or any other format. So even AI needs this structure from us, this structured thinking, because we still need relevant content. We still are fighting the misinformation online, and we are fighting for our time, because every MLR process with the human in the loop will be just, lost in the ocean of content in the next couple of years. So where we need to make sure the structure and the logistic of it is in place.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole end-to-end needs to be viewed from like a far-off point at the beginning, and then you have to deep dive into it. Because, today for us, we have the demand for not just digital, content, there is demand for print as well.
For print.
Yeah, we even within digital, you spoke about the headless CMS. Look, we are moving to more headless CMS, which is also, as you said, it's a modular approach to creating content faster, quicker, personalized.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow it'll be video content. And then we are also enabling the idea that soon you will be able to train your sales reps before even, simulate the environment within the doctor's clinic before even actually meeting the doctor in person, and being the most confident sales rep, being able to tackle any sort of questions. So we are looking at it, the content supply chain, from the creation to building it, to formatting it, to publishing it. You're training even the sales reps.
Does it mean that we have now visible gaps in our content supply chain? Because if we had that angle, we are talking about web. Let us be honest, how often we are receiving requests for the content offering or the content production chain where web is not in the focus, is not in the loop. So web is done by some other means in some other parallel universe, which is already modularized. So, and having such a complex piece of content as a web page,
Yeah.
how do we go from there and reuse it for the other formats? So, or we go from the beginning and integrate web from the day one. So are we thinking into that chain logistically way or not?
Absolutely. So even look at web, as you said, previously every brand had a website, let's say, which no one visited. And then you have this trend now of bringing everything together under what we call as the HCP portal, where as an HCP, I'm able to go to one singular place to find all the information that I need for the specific products offered by a certain pharmaceutical company. And I'm able to find the relevant information. So we are then bringing it into one place. But again, in order to manage such a portal, you need to be very agile, and it's a bigger beast than having single individual lonely websites. And this is where headless CMS and content authoring solutions integrate to be able to create, from, let's say, you have created some piece of content for some, let's say, an e-detailer, but the same information you needed on your web page. You can use the same components, and using headless CMS and our content authoring solution to publish into the web portal, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So this needs to be a chain. There shouldn't be these big gaps as we can see today, because these are very visual gaps we are having now, right? So because when we do not have in the modular structure such a complex element as a web page or the iDetail aid, so then we have a dilemma how to get every content created before broken to the meaningful pieces. Yes, and we can start with that and it will still work.
Yeah.
But more integrated solution is do not to exclude this web out of the picture from the day one, to think end to end.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about content velocity. Velocity is not just about the speed of creating more and more content. It's about
it isn't.
It
right?
is. It's also about the idea that, let's say you have your content, but suddenly there's a label update. How are you going to manage this label update across all the channels you want to, like your website, the email content, the e-detailer, everything all at once? Yeah, and MLR, because imagine if you were doing one at a time, and
this is exactly what is happening.
Some formats will be stuck forever, so others will move faster, but then you want some things to be done quickly.
Yeah.
And this is a use case, content velocity has to be considered, how you build that supply chain to make things update. Let's say, you want to update everything quickly.
It's a beautiful case, actually, because when we are thinking about content velocity, yes, if the straightforward, how fast I'm getting my content to production. This is the first, straightforward thinking. The other angle of that, right? So this is the update and localization. How fast can I localize? And imagine if I have only emails, iDetail or visual iDetail aids, printed materials, social media banners, but I don't have a web inside these somehow. And it is not a question of one vendor or the two vendors. It's the question of the chain, of the infrastructure. Having strong vendors supporting is fine. But to get the right infrastructure, we need to think about the chain, the connectivity of things, not the monopoly of things, or like one vendor will do it all. No, it's the connectivity, how well we connect the chain, how well we can operate cross different tools, cross different formats, and how fast we can go. And the speed is defined by this connectivity, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, you raised a point about this localization. This is a huge thing, right?
We'll start
I
out.
mean, all the AI world, and if you are not able to manage that localization bit, then the adoption of that solution becomes a big issue. And I think needs to be considered. So it's not just about technology, as we always say, how the process and the people are involved in the adoption. It's still all of these things we've been talking about in the last 10 years. It still continues to be relevant.
It still
even today.
continues to be relevant even
Yeah,
today.
nothing's
Nothing changed. For
even
10
after.
years, nothing changed.
Yeah.
So the meeting of today, where like our message we want to give to all of you, like the infrastructure is important. Like the content delivery supply chain is not about having one vendor or having many vendors or having all solutions are delivering the results, but how do they make a chain, how they deliver together so that localizations are simple, that we can be connected across the markets, then there is no conflicts between the formats, the tools, like there are no conflicts at all. So this is the question, and these questions always have the impact on how fast you are engaging, how impactful is your communication. So this like something untapped, I think, and something taken too narrow today, like self-service, modular content, pieces and bits of it.
Yeah, a lot of the focus is very much on the AI related content creation, but I think we need to look at it from end to end in a way that is it really, adding value, or we are creating more new problems?
Hopefully not.
No.
Hopefully not.
So this is the thing. So what we want to make sure that to our listeners is everything needs to be considered as part of this whole chain, and you need that supporting element, understanding the processes, and then even our own services element, they also will understand where they can bring in their expertise in how we can make things more efficient as we go along the supply chain. So as we bring the content from creation to publishing to engagement.
And this is happening really gradually. So like we are unblocking the different capabilities, right? So like being the infrastructure, having this, mind full of this logical supply chain of content, we are unblocking this infrastructure and capabilities step by step. And this could be MLR, modularization, it could be templatization, could be localization. And there's like a small steps. Shall we take the MLR before the final asset is produced? How much it will accelerate us if we will just remove the blockers down the road and we will be accelerated 50%. So it's a huge win. But the price for it is tiny. It's a small step. We just, brought the MLR early. And this is the small step, but we accelerate it a lot. So this is what we need to consider as this content supply chain problems we're trying to solve.
It's a really good point. You need to challenge that status quo of MLR review right at the end or during the whole process.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for being with us. So there was the Zeppelin, Nataliya Andreychuk, and Prasant Vijayakumar talking about the content supply chain. So this topic, I promise, will be still on our radars for a while. Please contact us, follow us, and give us a feedback. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.